Hey guys, welcome back to Your Way to Fitness. Today we're going to look at functional fitness and 6 fundamental movement patterns. Alright, so what exactly is functional fitness? Well, I define functional fitness as being able to do basic life skills without an unproportionate amount of fatigue or getting excessively tired. So being able to climb up the stairs or walk from the bus station without getting short of breath, that'd be functional fitness. Being able to lift a box out of the moving cart when you're moving from one house to another, that's functional fitness. A lot of fitness exercises that you can do, especially in gyms, focus on one specific muscle. But the way that the central nervous system works is it controls movement patterns. It controls movement and coordination. It doesn't control specific muscles. So unless your goal is to just get bigger muscles, more cross-sectional areas we talked about last time, the main goal for exercise should be to become functionally fit. And what I mean by that is being able to do your 6 fundamental movement patterns without the crazy fatigue that we talked about before. So these fundamental movement patterns are the squat, the deadlift, pushing, pulling, lunge, and rotation. So we'll talk about all of those a little bit later. Functional fitness is fitness that can translate to work, translate to sports. If you look at sports teams that are preparing or training, they're not doing exercises that aren't relevant to their sport. Tennis players, for instance, they're not in the gym trying to get their bench press up to 500 pounds every day. They're out on the court practicing rotation. That's a huge thing, right? You look at football players, like especially defensive football players, they're not going to be focusing on doing 10K runs. They care about the brute strength and the fast reactive abilities. So that's what they're going to focus on primarily. So it's really important to know why we want to be functionally fit. As a personal trainer, you want to be able to have all of the clients that you're working with master these 6 skills before you add weights. Because if you add weights and you're doing an incorrect form, that's the top way that you can injure yourself. So it's really important that you master them, and use coaching cues to help people master them can be super, super effective. There's obviously a bunch of different types of learners. You got visual learners, kinesthetic learners, tactile learners, you got auditory learners. So some people just need demonstrations. Some people need you to physically manipulate their body so they can understand how it feels. That's super big and can be really important. And sometimes people just need key phrases in order to learn and to excel. So it's super important that people master these 6 fundamental movement patterns. First, let's talk about the squat. So the squat, most people are familiar with, is really important, a movement pattern. When you think about it, we spend a large percentage of our life sitting down, and being able to stand up is something most people take for granted. But as our population is becoming, the demographics shifting, and there's going to be more older people, a lot of people are going to have to live longer, and they're going to want to be able to, take care of themselves till an older age. So being able to stand up from a chair, being able to sit down without hitting yourself really hard on the chair, right? You want to be able to sit down in a controlled fashion. Squatting is super important. And the major coaching cues is that you keep your knees behind the middle of your foot. You don't want to be going too far forward, because that is the major negative form that can happen from that. Second one is deadlift. Deadlift's often called triple extension because, well, you're extending at your hip, at your knee, and at your foot technically, although plantar flexion is what it would be called, but it's an extension. Anyways, and deadlift is not the same as a squat. It's a hip hinge, and a squat has more knee movement than a deadlift. A deadlift is primarily at the hip that you're moving, and it does train your back, but your back is primarily a stabilizer throughout the deadlift. And deadlifts are super important. If you look at sports like that require any kind of jumping, you don't jump from a squat position, you jump from a deadlift position. Halfway down and you jump up. Deadlift, super important functional fitness movement pattern. The third one is pushing. And we all know pushing is super important. If something heavy fell on you, you got to push it off of you. I mean, that's unlikely to happen, but pushing keeps not only your chest area strong. There's lots of different planes of pushing. You know, it's one of those movement patterns that has multiple planes of movement and therefore is super relevant to our life because, you know, pushing a door open, pushing your washing machine into the right position, whatever. The fourth one is pulling. And pulling is kind of the opposite of pushing, as most people would assume. Sometimes it's harder to find ways to do pulling movements in a calisthenic setting, but pulling is super duper important too. The fifth one, we're on 5. Fifth one is the lunge. The lunge gets its own category because it's 1 foot squats basically. And another really important movement pattern as it tests a little bit of flexibility too. The sixth one is rotation, and rotation is oftentimes the one that is very important because it's the most often missed in our society. There's a lot of problems in the iliopsoas muscles and in the internal external obliques because not a lot of people train the rotation movement. But rotating is another very important fundamental movement pattern. All right, so the 6 fundamental movement patterns: squat, deadlift, push, pull, lunge, and rotation. And functional fitness is being able to live your life the way that you want, which I'm sure everyone wants to do. All right, see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.